Hi friends, we're celebrating sunflowers today with a little watercolor painting. Let's get started. Here's the finished product. This is a painting I did to show you how it might turn out. Yours may turn out differently. In fact, you may choose to do it a little bit differently than I show you, but I'll show you how I did this. In your connection kit, you got a drawing of a sunflower on watercolor paper. You also got a little palette with 4 colors, yellow, orange, green, and brown. There's actually a little blue down in the center, and we'll use that as well. You got a small sponge and a Sharpie. What you don't have is water. You will need some water, so make sure you have a little container with some water in it. The first thing you do is go over the pencil lines with a Sharpie. I've already started this one, so I was just going over them, not trying to be too careful. You don't have to go exactly over the lines. Sunflowers are very irregular, and it's good if you don't make them exactly like they're drawn. You're going to be covering up the pencil lines anyway with some paint. So just outline however you like. And once you're done, I'm going to flip it over. There's one I've already finished. Then we'll get started painting. Next step is to take your sponge and wet it. So I'm going to just push it down in the water, but then I'm going to squeeze it out. You don't want it to be soaking wet, just a little damp. Blot the damp sponge over your drawing. Because we used a Sharpie, the ink will not run. It's permanent ink. Just so you get the paper damp all over, but not soaking wet. We're going to start with the lightest color, which is yellow. Dip your brush in water. Your paint will be dry, so you'll need to reactivate it by swirling a little water into it. I'm going to paint the petals first, and I'm not staying within the lines. I'm letting the yellow bleed out over the edges. You may decide that you want to paint it more slowly and carefully, and that's fine. Everybody has a different style. This particular watercolor is going to be a little messy, and messy is good. It shows that the sunflower has absorbed a lot of energy from the sun. So I'll go all the way around with yellow. Then I'm going to dip my brush in orange and just dot some orange around the circle. And you'll watch it bleed out as I move down and paint the leaves and the stems green. This is a very true green. It's almost an emerald green. And we know that the leaves aren't really that color. So we're going to add a little bit of orange and yellow to the leaves. Yes, I said orange. So what that will do is it will dull the green a little bit, make it a little bit darker. I'll add a little yellow as well. So the more mottled they are, the leaves and the stems, the more interesting and more natural they'll look. Now, if you get too much, I just put way too much orange on there, just take your sponge and blot it. You can actually lift the color off. So if you make anything that you think is a mistake, you can just blot it right off. And this watercolor will dry much lighter than you see it now. So you may even want to add another coat. So I think I got a little bit. No, I think that's going to be all right once it dries. Okay, so the center we're going to paint brown. And I'm putting a lot of brown on here. What is going to make that brown darker is a little bit of blue. Watercolor comes in trays like this. That's what most of us are familiar with. But it also comes in tubes. So I had a tube of blue watercolor and I squeezed some right down in the middle of your palette. Notice I gave you a limited palette. You don't have all the colors, but I just dabbed a little bit of blue. There it is. So you can paint the background with some blue. You can even swirl it around with a sponge, which is what I did on the original. You can bleed it out a little. Notice how it's mixing with the yellow and getting a little greenish tint to it. Now you could certainly paint all this with a brush. I'm just doing it to be quick and to show you another method. I'm also going to add some blue right back in here. And because the paper is wet, it's running a little bit, but I like that running. Now I'm going to add some blue to the brown, just right here around the edge, just like I did with the orange. And it will create a black, almost black. Depends on how much blue and how much brown you have. But it will definitely darken it and add to the look of the sunflower seeds, which are in the center. Now it looks pretty messy right now, but once it dries, the colors will lighten up, and you might even decide that you want to go over it again. So here's the other one I did, so you can compare and see that they're a little bit different. Have fun painting today, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye.